You ever wonder how long someone can take being treated like garbage before they finally snap? Because I sure as hell have. My name's Ethan, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the family afterthought. If my older brother Daniel was a king, then I was the dirt beneath his throne. My parents, my aunts, my uncles, even my grandparents, they all worshipped the ground he walked on. Me? I was the invisible one, the scapegoat, the disappointment. Daniel was the golden child. Handsome, successful, engaged to some picture-perfect woman named Emily. He was the type of guy who'd smile at you in public but talk behind your back the second you left the room. He got everything he ever wanted. New car at 16. Full college tuition paid for while I had to take out loans. A high-paying job handed to him through one of Dad's connections. And now, he was having the wedding of the century. And me? I was invited, sure, but not as a guest. A week before the wedding, Mom called me. I knew something was up immediately because she never called unless she needed something. "Ethan, I assume you're coming to the wedding," she said in that voice, the one that sounded like she was barely tolerating me. "Yeah," I muttered. "Good. We need you to help out during the event." I frowned. "Help out how?" "You know, just small things. Watching the kids, making sure everything runs smoothly, maybe helping in the kitchen if needed." I clenched my jaw. "So, you don't actually want me to be a guest? You just want free labor?" She scoffed, like I was being dramatic. "It's Daniel's big day, Ethan. The least you can do is pitch in. You're not doing anything important anyway." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. I should have expected this. Of course, they didn't see me as part of the celebration. I wasn't a guest. I wasn't family. I was just the unpaid help. "Fine," I said through gritted teeth. Not that she noticed my anger. "Good. And please don't embarrass us. Just stay out of the way and don't make a scene." That was it. The final straw, because they had no idea. They had no idea that this wedding, the one where they expected me to be their errand boy, was about to be a day they'd never forget. I arrived at the family estate 2 days before the wedding. Mom and Dad owned this massive house in the countryside, the kind of place that looked like it belonged in a magazine. They had money, plenty of it, but none of it had ever been spent on me. The second I walked in, I knew I was an outsider. Daniel was at the center of it all, laughing with Emily, surrounded by relatives fawning over him. He had that smug, self-satisfied grin on his face, the one that always made me want to punch him. Mom barely acknowledged me when I walked in. "Oh, Ethan, you're finally here. Like I was late. You'll be sleeping in the guest house." Not in the main house. Wouldn't want the family failure tainting the golden boy's special weekend. I gritted my teeth and nodded. The next 2 days were a nightmare. I wasn't a guest. I was a servant. I was handed lists of things to do. Pick up dry cleaning, move chairs, carry boxes, watch the little kids while everyone else drank champagne and laughed about what a magical day it was going to be. Daniel made it worse. Whenever he saw me struggling with something, he'd smirk and throw in a passive-aggressive comment. "Careful with that, Ethan. Wouldn't want you screwing up my wedding too. Man, you really look like you belong in the service industry. You should be grateful Mom and Dad even invited you." I wanted to strangle him. Emily wasn't much better. She was beautiful, sure, but she had that same fake sweetness Daniel had. The one that made you think she was nice, until she opened her mouth. At dinner the night before the wedding, she turned to me with a pitying smile. "Ethan, you must be so happy for Daniel. He's so successful. I bet it's inspiring." I stared at her. "Sure." She giggled. "So, do you have a girlfriend?" "No." "Oh." Her eyes flickered with something judgment? Amusement? "Well, maybe someday. Daniel's always said you had trouble with confidence." Daniel snickered. "He doesn't have trouble with confidence, babe. He just never had much going for him." Everyone at the table laughed. I sat there, gripping my fork so tightly my knuckles went white. I could feel it building, the anger, the humiliation, the years of resentment boiling under my skin. They thought I was nothing. But tomorrow, they were going to learn exactly who they'd been messing with. That night, as the house buzzed with final preparations, I sat alone in the guest house, staring at the ceiling. I had spent years swallowing their cruelty, letting them treat me like trash, playing the role of the quiet disappointment, but not anymore. Because tomorrow, at the wedding, in front of all their friends, their high society guests, their perfect little world, I was going to humiliate Daniel in a way he'd never recover from. I smiled to myself in the darkness. This wedding was going to be unforgettable. The morning of the wedding was pure chaos. Guests were arriving. The estate was buzzing with caterers, florists, photographers, all working to make Daniel's perfect day even more perfect. And me, I was shoved into the background like always. I woke up early, dressed in the suit my mom had picked for me, cheap, ill-fitting, and nothing like Daniel's custom-tailored tuxedo. No surprise there. When I stepped into the main house, the first thing I heard was Mom barking orders. "Ethan, what took you so long? There's so much to do." I clenched my jaw. Like what? Like setting up chairs, greeting guests, making sure the kids don't run around like wild animals. Just be useful for once. Be useful for once. I swallowed the insult. Not yet. Not yet. The humiliation continued. Everywhere I turned, people treated me like I was just some hired help. My relatives barely acknowledged me except to hand me more work. "Ethan, go tell the DJ we want different music." "Ethan, can you make sure the food is out on time?" "Ethan, don't get in the photos, okay?" Meanwhile, Daniel strutted around like a damn prince, basking in the attention. Emily was glued to his side, looking flawless in her designer wedding dress. Her bridesmaids cooed over her, while Daniel's groomsmen cracked jokes and toasted to the best guy they knew. And then, just when I thought my patience was wearing thin, Daniel decided to rub salt in the wound. I was standing near the reception area, watching as people took their seats, when he strolled over with his signature smirk. "Hey, little bro." His tone was condescending as ever. "Big day today. Gotta admit, you must be feeling pretty lucky." I frowned. "Lucky? Yeah, lucky to be here at all." He chuckled, clapping me on the shoulder. "I mean, let's be real. If it weren't for Mom and Dad, you wouldn't even be invited. Not exactly wedding material, you know." His friends laughed. My blood boiled. I wanted to wipe that smug look off his face, but I wasn't ready. Not yet. So I just forced a tight smile. "Yeah, lucky me." Daniel didn't notice my clenched fists. He was too busy basking in his own importance. And that's when I saw it. Daniel's phone. He had it in his hand, half distracted as he texted someone while talking to his groomsmen. And just for a second, I saw the name on the screen. Anna. My stomach twisted. Because Anna wasn't his fiancée. She was his side chick. See, I'd known for a while. Daniel was cheating on Emily. And not just with one woman, he had a whole damn rotation. I found out months ago, purely by accident. I'd gone to a bar downtown after work one night, just wanting a drink to clear my head. And that's when I saw him. Daniel, with his arm wrapped around some blonde who definitely wasn't Emily. I didn't say anything that night. I didn't confront him. I just sat there, watching as he flirted, touched, and eventually left with her completely shameless. And later, when I started digging, I realized she wasn't the only one. Daniel had been cheating on Emily for years. Different women, different places. And the worst part? He didn't even try to hide it. He was so sure no one would ever say anything. Why? Because he was Daniel, the golden child, the perfect son, the one who could do no wrong. And the family? If they ever found out, they'd cover for him. No question. But Emily? She had no idea. She thought she was marrying the perfect man, the devoted fiancé, the loyal partner. She didn't know the truth, but she would. Soon. By the time the ceremony started, my patience was running razor thin. The guests were seated. The music was playing. The massive floral arch at the altar looked like something out of a fairy tale. Daniel stood there, grinning, adjusting his tuxedo, while Mom and Dad beamed with pride in the front row. I stood at the back, alone. I was supposed to stay out of the way, remember? The bridesmaids made their way down the aisle. Then the flower girl. And finally, Emily. The crowd gasped as she appeared. She looked beautiful, absolutely glowing. And as she walked toward the altar, her eyes locked onto Daniel's. She looked at him like he was her entire world. I clenched my fists. Because she had no idea what kind of man she was marrying. The ceremony began. The officiant spoke. And Daniel? He stood there lying through his teeth, pretending to be the perfect groom. Emily smiled at him, hanging on to every word. The crowd sighed dreamily. My parents wiped fake tears from their eyes. And me? I was seething. Because they didn't know. They didn't know that Daniel had spent the night before his wedding texting another woman. They didn't know that he'd been cheating for years. They didn't know that this entire day, this massive, expensive, over-the-top event, was built on nothing but lies. But they were going to find out. Soon. Because I wasn't just going to let Daniel get away with it. No. I was going to make sure this wedding was a day he'd never forget. After the ceremony, everyone flooded into the reception area, a massive outdoor setup with chandeliers hanging from white tents, tables decorated with absurdly expensive floral arrangements, and a dance floor so polished it looked like glass. And, of course, a head table. A long, beautifully decorated table where Daniel, Emily, my parents, and the important people would sit. I, of course, had no seat there. Instead, I was expected to sit at the far end of the venue, near the catering staff. I walked toward my designated table, trying to ignore the bubbling rage in my chest, when I heard Daniel's voice behind me, loud, arrogant, mocking. Man, I really dodged a bullet. I stopped in my tracks. Slowly, I turned. Daniel was standing with a few of his groomsmen, drink in hand, grinning. His friends were laughing, like they were in on some kind of joke. Dodged a bullet? One of them asked. Daniel smirked. I mean, can you imagine if I actually married Anna? My blood ran cold. Anna, the woman he had texted last night. The side chick. One of many. Dude, you were seriously thinking about it? Another groomsman laughed. Daniel shrugged. For, like, half a second. But come on, let's be real. Emily's the better deal. Her family's loaded, and she's so in love with me she'd never suspect a thing. His friends burst out laughing, and Daniel? He took a casual sip of his drink, like he hadn't just admitted to marrying Emily for her money. Like he hadn't just admitted to playing her like a fool. I felt something inside me snap. It wasn't just the cheating. It wasn't just the lying. It was the fact that he was so damn proud of it. Emily was standing just a few feet away, chatting with guests, completely unaware that her new husband was mocking her behind her back. And my parents? They were laughing too. Like this was normal. Like it was funny. And suddenly, I realized something. They all knew. Maybe not about the cheating, maybe not about Anna specifically, but they knew Daniel was a selfish, manipulative piece of garbage. And they didn't care. Because in their eyes, he could do no wrong. But that was about to change. Because I was going to make sure of it. I took a slow, deep breath. I could feel my hands shaking. Not with fear. With anticipation. Daniel had no idea what was coming. Neither did my parents. Neither did Emily. But they would. And when I was done, this wedding would go down in history. I turned back toward the reception, my mind racing, heart pounding. I had everything I needed. All the proof. All the leverage. And now? It was just a matter of when. I glanced up at the stage, where the microphone stood, waiting for the next speech. A slow smile spread across my face. Soon, I stood there, gripping my glass so tightly I thought it might shatter. Daniel was still laughing, still grinning like he hadn't just exposed himself as the absolute garbage human being he was. His friends clinked their drinks together, throwing around more jokes about Emily, about how easy this whole thing had been for him, about how stupidly blind she was. My stomach twisted. I turned my gaze toward Emily, still glowing, still completely unaware, chatting with relatives who were just as oblivious as she was. The wedding had been perfect so far. Too perfect. But that was about to change. I took a slow sip of my drink, letting my mind race through all the ways I could make this go down. Daniel's confidence was dangerous. He wasn't just arrogant, he was certain that nothing could touch him. That was the thing about golden children, wasn't it? They thought they were untouchable. That no matter what they did, no matter who they hurt, their family would always shield them from the consequences. And why wouldn't he think that? Look at my parents, laughing along, clinging to his every word like it was gospel. Look at my relatives, all gathered around him, praising him, celebrating him. Meanwhile, I was just there. Always just there. I set my drink down, forcing my hands to unclench. Not for long. The music softened, and the MC took the mic, announcing the start of the speeches. The room turned its attention toward the head table, where my father stood, fixing his suit before stepping forward with his glass raised. To my son, my pride and joy, Daniel, he began, voice thick with genuine admiration. I don't think I've ever been prouder in my life than I am today. He turned toward Daniel, smiling like he had personally crafted him into the perfect man. I wanted to vomit. From the moment he was born, I knew he was going to be special. And look at him now. A strong, hardworking, devoted man, marrying the woman of his dreams. My mother dabbed at her eyes, pretending to be emotional, while Daniel sat there smirking. I remember when he was just a kid, my father continued, always so determined, always standing out in everything he did. He was the best at sports, the best at school, the most charming, the most responsible. I swear I felt my eye twitch. And now, look at him, proving once again that he deserves every good thing life has to offer. The room clapped, murmurs of agreement rippling through the crowd. I saw my cousins nodding, my aunts whispering about how wonderful Daniel was, how lucky Emily was to have him. And me? I just sat there, swallowing down every last piece of resentment that had built up over the years. Then, My father turned his gaze toward me. And, of course, he added, we have Ethan. The shift in tone was instant. A slight pause. A hesitation. The kind that made it clear that I wasn't even supposed to be mentioned. A few people turned to glance at me, almost like they'd forgotten I existed. I wasn't even mad. I had spent my whole life being an afterthought. My father gave me a small nod, like he was being forced to acknowledge me. Ethan has always, well, he's been there for Daniel, supporting him, standing by him, and we're glad he's here today to celebrate his brother's big day. That was it. That was my entire acknowledgement. The clapping was noticeably weaker this time. A few polite nods, a couple of glances in my direction before people turned their attention right back to Daniel. I exhaled slowly. Daniel, the ever-smug bastard, raised his glass, flashing me that same condescending smirk he had given me all my life. Thanks for coming, bro, he said, voice dripping with mockery. Really means a lot. I stared at him. He was baiting me. He wanted me to react. He wanted me to lash out, to cause a scene, to be the bitter, jealous brother so he could turn around and be the victim. And for a moment, I almost did. For a moment, I almost stood up and shattered my glass against the floor and told everyone exactly what kind of man Daniel really was. But no, that was too easy. I forced a smile, nodding. Of course, I said, voice calm. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Daniel grinned, thinking he had won. Thinking I was just going to sit there and take it. He had no idea. The speeches continued. More praise. More gushing about how wonderful, how incredible, how perfect Daniel was. Then Emily's father stood up, making his toast, his voice full of genuine love for his daughter. And to Daniel, he said warmly, I know you're going to take care of her. I know you're going to be the loyal, devoted husband she deserves. I almost laughed. Daniel lifted his glass again, smiling, nodding, pretending. Then he glanced at me. Just for a split second. A flicker of amusement. Of challenge. And that's when I made my decision. I wasn't just going to ruin this wedding. I was going to end him. I took a slow breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle over me. The wedding hall was buzzing with conversation, laughter, and the clinking of glasses as people mingled and celebrated. Celebrated him. Daniel, sitting there with his perfect smile, his perfect life, his perfect web of lies, completely at ease because he knew that nothing could touch him. But he was wrong. I stood up. The sound of my chair scraping against the floor wasn't loud, but in the brief pause between speeches, it cut through the noise just enough to make a few heads turn. I felt the shift in the air, the subtle change in energy as people realized I was about to speak. I saw Daniel's eyes flicker with amusement, his lips curling in that familiar, condescending smirk that made my blood boil. I picked up my glass, raising it slightly. I just want to say a few words, I announced. My voice was steady, calm, too calm. It was the kind of calm that preceded a storm. The kind of calm that made people listen, made people wonder what was coming next. Daniel leaned back in his chair, completely relaxed, like this was all part of the show. My parents, however, looked less thrilled. My mother's grip on her napkin tightened. My father shot me a warning look, as if to say, don't embarrass the family. Oh, don't worry, Dad. I won't embarrass the family. I'll just destroy the illusion you've built around your precious son. I turned my gaze toward Emily, who was smiling politely, completely unaware. First of all, Emily, I said, you look absolutely stunning today. I mean that. I don't think I've ever seen a happier bride. I saw her blush slightly, Daniel squeezing her hand as if he was some adoring husband-to-be. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. And you're marrying Daniel, the man of the hour. The man everyone here has spent the last hour telling us is loyal, devoted, responsible, and just an all-around perfect guy. I let the words linger for a second. I mean, who wouldn't be lucky to have a man like Daniel? A few chuckles from the crowd. Daniel's smirk widened. Glad you finally see it, bro, he said, voice dripping with arrogance. I ignored him. But, since we're here to celebrate honesty, love, and commitment, I think it's only right that we all get to know the groom a little better. I turned, making eye contact with Daniel. He still wasn't worried. Not yet. After all, Emily, if you're spending the rest of your life with him, it's only fair you know everything about the man you're marrying, right? Now, the mood shifted. I felt it. A few nervous laughs, a few side glances. My mother sat up straighter, my father's jaw clenched. And Daniel? For the first time tonight, his smile faltered. Just slightly. I took my phone out of my pocket. Casual. Unhurried. And then I turned back to Emily. I just have one question, I said, tilting my head slightly. Do you know a woman named Sophie? Dead. Silence. Emily frowned, confused. Sophie, she repeated, and that's when I saw it. The first crack in Daniel's mask. It was quick, a flicker of something in his eyes, a tiny, barely noticeable stiffening of his posture. But I caught it. I smiled. Yeah, Sophie, I said, unlocking my phone with a few taps. You see, she's someone very special to Daniel. I turned the screen toward Emily, showing her the messages, screenshots. Hundreds of them. Texts, photos, videos. The color drained from her face. My mother gasped. People started whispering. My father stood up halfway, like he was about to storm over and stop me, but I stepped back, raising a hand. No, let's not interrupt. This is important. I turned back to Emily, my voice gentle now. She wasn't my enemy. She was just another person Daniel had fooled. Go ahead, I said. Read them. Her hands trembled as she took the phone. She scrolled. Her eyes widened. Her breathing grew unsteady, and then she looked up at Daniel. What is this? Her voice was barely above a whisper, but the shock, the betrayal, the sheer devastation in it was deafening. Daniel shot to his feet. Ethan, what the hell is this? His voice was shaking now, no longer amused, no longer in control. This is a joke, right? Some kind of stupid prank. Oh, no, it's real, I said, my voice sharp. Very real. Unlike the little fairy tale you've been selling to Emily and her family. I turned, addressing the entire room now. You see, Daniel here isn't just a charming, devoted fiancé. No. He's a cheating, lying piece of garbage. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Relatives started murmuring, looking between Emily and Daniel. Judging. Watching. Emily was still frozen, still staring at the messages. Then, suddenly, she slammed the phone down on the table. How long? Her voice cracked. How long have you been cheating on me? Daniel ran a hand through his hair, glancing around, realizing that everyone was watching. His confidence was gone. Emily, babe, just listen. How long? He hesitated, just for a second. But it was enough. Emily let out a shaky breath, then turned toward the crowd, toward her family, toward her father, who looked like he was about 3 seconds away from murdering Daniel. Then she stood up. Without another word, she grabbed her bouquet, took a deep breath, and walked out. A stunned silence followed. Then, all at once, the wedding exploded into chaos. The aftermath was exactly what I wanted. Emily's family tore into Daniel the moment she left. Her father nearly knocked him out before security had to step in. My parents? Oh, they tried to spin it, to blame me, but it was too late. The evidence was there. The whispers had started. Daniel's perfect image? Shattered. Emily called off the wedding immediately. She moved out that same night, blocked him on everything, and from what I heard, her family made sure he paid for every single expense. As for my parents, they never forgave me. They called me vindictive, cruel, a disgrace. But I didn't care. The extended family started seeing through their lies. People stopped treating them like royalty. And Daniel? He tried to bounce back, of course. But his name? Ruined. His job? Gone. His reputation? Destroyed. Turns out, cheating on your fiancé and getting exposed at your own wedding isn't a great look. The golden child finally fell from grace. And I walked away without looking back.